Hey guys, my name is Val Njoroge. I'm the CEO and co-founder at Africa's Pocket. And today I'm really excited to talk to you guys because we partnered with some of our friends over on Instagram to figure out what you guys are struggling with when it comes to financial planning. So thank you, Ivy, Wangari, and Georgie, for bringing all these questions to us. We got an overwhelming amount of questions, and we're going to do a Q&A on Instagram, but we thought that a video would be better just to kind of go over it on a more general basis. So the way that I thought to tackle this is to go through 5 different topics, and we grouped the questions that we got. So we got a lot of questions around your mindset. So this is things like, I'm an impulse buyer. When the money comes, I'm just in the club, it gets finished, or KFC is calling, or things like emotional spending. So you've had a bad day, so you want to go to Art Cafe and get that salted caramel cake. Or that's when you want to treat yourself, you want to buy some new shoes, some new clothes. So how do you deal with those kinds of emotional spending? And the third thing that we got a lot of questions about is black tax, or that social pressure that comes with people borrowing money from you and not returning it. This is family and friends who feel really entitled to your money. And here we thought that this is a mindset question because of the boundaries that you need to set. And then we got a lot of questions about saving, budgeting, and planning. So how do you save? What amount do you even save? Where do you start? And then with budgeting, how do you stick to it? How do you budget for things like donations or giving? And those are the kinds of categories. And then finally, how do you invest? So where do you invest? How do you even start? And then we got a couple of questions about debt and side hustles. So these are a lot of topics, and I'll try my best to kind of cover all of them in this video. We might make it several parts. We'll see as we go. So let me get started immediately with mindsets. So this for me is the foundation of financial planning. You have to have the right mindset. You just have to be in the space where you know why you're saving, you know why this is important to you, and this really helps you stay on track. So I always say, like with everything, start with why. Why do you want to save? Why do you want to invest? Why do you even work? For sure, it's not so that you can pay rent or take an Uber. You have other goals for your life. People are saving for their retirement. People are saving to buy a house. Some are saving for a shorter term goal, like just going on a holiday or vacation every year. It doesn't matter what the goal is. What matters is that you have a goal. So take some time to just figure out, why do I work? Why do I want to save? Why do I want to invest? And write these down. It's really important to just write it down so that it's real, it's affirmed. You can go back to it and check how it's going and that kind of thing. So that brings us to the second part. So you now know why you're saving. What's the next thing you do? You need to track your spending. You should do this in retrospect. And this is important for a couple of reasons. One, it shows you what your habits are. What do you spend on regularly? And then second, it will highlight opportunities for saving. So when I did this, my favorite example to give is that I found out that I was spending about 2,500 on M-Pesa every month. When you say it like that, it sounds kidogo. But when it adds up, that's 30,000 shillings a year. That's a holiday, which is something that I would much rather do than send M-Pesa, especially because most of the time I was sending somebody who's sitting across from me. So what tracking does is it just shows you, what is your regular spending? So what are the things that you do every single month or every week or every year? And then of those things, which of them are unnecessary, and so can you cut them out? So here I would recommend taking your bank statements, your M-Pesa statements, any receipts that you have, and just, go to town with a highlighter or Excel or whatever other method works for you, and just figure out what you spend in every category. You should do this for 3 months at the minimum, but I would recommend doing it for at least a year, because then you see the amounts in an annual way and you can really see places that you can save. So once you figured out these things, so you know what your goals are, you've tracked your spending, and so you know how much you regularly how much you regularly spend on certain categories and where you have an opportunity to save, you can now really start planning. And with planning, you want to start by saving. This is our philosophy here at Africa's Pocket. We always say you start by saving, so pay yourself first, and then you spend. So now that's when you do things like rent and transport and that other kind of thing. So when you're figuring out what to save for, it's quite vague. It can be really difficult to say, okay, this is what I want to save for. And that's why the goals are important. But even before we get to goals, you have to create a fence around yourself. And that's where an emergency fund comes in. So I always say, start with an emergency fund, because this is like the fence to your beautiful house. You can do everything right, but if you have an emergency and it wipes you out, it's as though you've done nothing. So start by putting away some money for a rainy day. And a good amount to start with here is about 100K. So use all of your resources right now to get to 100K as quickly as possible. Don't save for anything else. Just put everything you can towards getting to 100K. Once you get to 100K, you can switch your method and now try to accumulate 3 to 6 months of your salary. And this emergency fund should really help you out when things go wrong. So buying shoes is not an emergency. This is for when your car breaks down or you need to repair something in your house, things that are not usually covered by insurance, but they happen and they stop your life from going on. That's what your emergency fund is for. Once you've put together an emergency fund, the next big thing you want to do is get rid of all your debt, or get rid of bad debt. So anything that's not sort of a mortgage or a debt towards an asset, you want to get rid of as quickly as possible. So the money that you used to put towards your emergency fund, take all of that and now start applying it to debt. We have a course coming up that really teaches you how to go into the specific ways of getting rid of your debt. But for now, just know that that's the next thing you should do, get rid of your debt. Once you have an emergency fund, you're free of debt, the next thing you really want to start saving for is your retirement. This is the only thing you know is going to happen. God willing, you make it to that age, but you know at some point you legally cannot work. So you need to put away money for those 20, 30, even maybe 40 years that you're not working anymore and you still need to survive. A good rule of thumb here is to put away between 10 and 20% of your income towards your retirement, towards a pension. If you're employed, this is one of the best things you can do because some companies match what you give, which means that instantly you've doubled your money. You put away 1,000, your company also gives you 1,000. So instantly your money has doubled. It's the best investment that you can make. So that's the first thing you should be doing. And then once you put away those categories, then now you start looking at what improves my life. And this is in two ways. One is what increases my net worth and allows me to grow my passive income in the future. And then second is what makes me happy, what brings me joy. So the first category is where you're saving towards things like buying a house or making a major investment. And the second category is where you're saving towards things that make you happy, like travel. Maybe it's that red Mercedes that you've been dreaming about. That's where you start saving for these kinds of things. And I want you to note that I haven't even started talking about rent and transport yet because you have to put away money for you first. So this is where your goals really become important because you need to be very clear about what you want in which timeline, because then that will tell you what are you willing to sacrifice in your budget to make this saving up here work. So once you've done all your savings, you can now start looking at your monthly budget, like what you spend every month. So here we'll divide this into two categories. The first one is your needs. These are things that you literally need to survive. And there are four main categories. One is your shelter, so this is where you live. Second is your transport to your place of work specifically. Third is what you eat. And fourth is your basic clothing. Now, this doesn't mean that you're just randomly buying a dress. It's like if you live in a place where there's winter, it's snowing, you need a coat. So that will go in your needs category, not in your wants, because if you don't have a coat, you're going to die. So you want to think of these things as the things you have to spend money on to survive. Those are your needs. And here, a good rule of thumb is spend 50% or less on your needs. Then you now go into your wants. This is your going out, this is your Netflix, this is your Wi-Fi. Yes, Wi-Fi is not a need, unless maybe you work from home. But generally speaking, everything else comes into this category. And these are places where you really have to start cutting. Like if you're not happy with how your budget is, this is where you start cutting. You start by reducing these variable costs as much as possible while you work on reducing the larger costs, which are your needs. So there you have it. You now have a budget. And you could end up in two situations here. You could either end up over budget, meaning you don't have enough money to cover all of the things that are in your budget. In this case, you have two options. You can reduce how much you spend on your needs and your wants, or you can earn more income. And this is where things like side hustles come in. You can now start investing in yourself to get a promotion, that kind of thing. Then the second outcome is that you're actually under budget, which means that you have extra money at the end of your budgeting. And this means that you can actually put more towards your savings, which is great. You can get there faster, or you can start saving towards an additional thing. So hopefully a lot of us are in the second category, but if you're not, that's okay. We have a lot of resources about how to think about side hustles and earning more. So thinking about how to get a promotion at work, or how to find the right side hustle for you. How do you know what's the right thing for you to do? And we have a couple of rules and matrices that you can follow to make sure that you find the right opportunity for yourself. And then how do you keep this going the whole time? So going back to the mindset, going back to being disciplined and wanting this for yourself, you really want to make sure that you have a money date. You have a day when you come back and you track how you're doing with these things. I like to make my money date super fun so that it's not like a bad day. It's something that I'm looking forward to. Have some wine, have some music, make it like a really nice thing. Buy yourself a treat that day. And what you do here is you look at how much money you have spent. You check how you're doing against your budget. Are you on track? Are you off track? If you're off track, this is a good time to kind of reel yourself in and make sure that you're either being honest with yourself. So, you can't like now say, okay, now my rent was over, nothing I can do. Your rent is your rent for now. So this is when you just, sense check and make sure that you're actually budgeting correctly. You can also figure out where you can spend a little bit less or rearrange your budget to fit with what your income is. The other thing that I would recommend here is when you're starting out, do this every week. And then as you get more used to it, you can do it monthly and then quarterly. And this is really just a way to make sure that you're keeping on track and that you're being honest with yourself. So there we have it. I hope we've answered most of your questions. I know we can't answer everything in detail, but the great thing is that we have so many resources. We have a newsletter, we have a blog, we have online courses, we have events. So check out our pages to get a sense of what's going on here and where we can answer a lot more in-depth questions. And remember, it's a journey. It's pretty simple to build wealth. You just earn more and spend less. It's a simple concept, but it's not easy. And what we're trying to do at Africa's Pocket is make sure that you have the tools, you have the knowledge, you have the information that you need to make this process a little less difficult than it generally is. And we hope that you join us in this journey to build a life that you want. Thank you.